Preparing to live stream the meeting to YouTube, it tells me. So we may be on our way to the in the right direction. We've got a progress bar moving. I have done at least one blast out on Facebook that our meeting will be starting now. And there it is on YouTube. I'm gonna have to pause it so I don't get myself on a 7-second delay or whatever the heck the delay is on there. Looks like we are at, why is that not clicking? Uh-oh, now I'm confused. I'm trying to admit someone into the meeting and I can't get them in. I have lost all control on my Zoom, folks. Oh, what am I going to do here? Let me try and click a different button.
I can hear you through the Zoom.
You can hear me through Zoom. Thank you. I'm going to hide this window completely. Sometimes this other stuff like interacts. I have so many things open on my machine right now. But I am unable to add somebody or do anything on my control panel. I'm going to ask you all to bear with me. I think I'm going to have to restart this and see if I can make it go again because I am getting some sort of lockup on my machine. All right, I think we're back. I think I've got my controls back in again. Karen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I was able to click on the button to add the person who was waiting to join. I hope it didn't take too long that they hung up. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I guess something happened when I tried to get this to go live on Facebook, excuse me, on YouTube, that locked up my controls in the Zoom app. Kind of disappointing. I didn't test that out beforehand. It worked okay on Sunday to go live on Facebook. Maybe it didn't like YouTube so much. I'm not sure. Well, instead of trying to mess with technical stuff, it's already 6 minutes past 7. So instead, I'd really rather get the meeting going. I don't want to keep you all hanging out and waiting for no reason. I've already got you waiting here for no reason until I open this next document and start our meeting with our Disclaimer, that is all of our meetings are environment of education and awareness and are not open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis. We do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching later on YouTube, thank you for watching. My name is Scott Weldon. I'm director with the Lowcountry NORML. We are home based in the Charleston, South Carolina area. Our general meetings usually start with, and I'm going to kind of skip through a little bit tonight because I'm, as usual, not fully prepared. I'm going to switch screens here. I've got 17,000 things open up on my other screen. I haven't seen any real movement at national level except for the banking legislation, which is the Secure and Fair Enforcement Banking Act, also known as the SAFE, S-A-F-E Banking Act. Of course, as always, I will mention the MORE Act. We have been pushing the MORE Act for quite a while. We've got a fair number of legislators signed on. That is the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act. That is a chairman's bill. You can go to normal, NORML.com, .org. Click in onto their action center and click on any one of those federal pieces of legislation. And right now I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different ones on the top of my screen. They may or may not change by your location. But yeah, the MORE Act is one we've been pushing hard for. Of course, we don't really believe it's going to ever get past Mitch McConnell's desk, or I can't speak for the entire organization. Voting's important. There's too many bills just sitting kind of deadlocked on the speaker's desk. Anyway, get as many people as we can signed on there. Also in that same list is to message your legislators to join into the Congressional Cannabis Caucus. If you listened in the other night on Sunday, I kind of went a little bit on how cannabis prohibition plays into a lot of what's going on the streets today, helping to arm our law enforcement, helping to give them rules that allow them to search you because they either claim they smell something or their dog signals that it indicates to something. Just read an interesting article on that a couple of weeks ago that those dogs will indicate more likely to please their trainer because they know that's what their trainer wants more times than they're actually accurate. And I believe the statistics is 80% of the time they do indicate nothing is found. Anyway, that's my little sidetrack on that. There are a couple of pieces of veterans cannabis legislation also at the federal level. There's the legislation pending to expand veterans' access to medical cannabis, and also the mandate that the VA conduct clinical trials for medical cannabis. People sometimes ask me why, do we need separate legislation? Our military has their own set of rules, their own programs. They don't necessarily play by the same rules that we all play by, that civilians play by. So there's separate legislation for those purposes. Support that, please. Contact your legislators. That's really a lot of federal level right now. I haven't heard or seen anything moving. I've also, as many of you know, been kind of out of it the past few months. Excuse me. with sort of off and on illnesses, but I do still try and keep an eye on what's going on. As far as state level, I don't believe they're meeting anymore this year. Even if they are, there's no cannabis legislation moving anywhere. The Compassionate Care Act, my understanding from some people that watch that a little bit closer and a little bit more in the loop, the plan is to basically rewrite the legislation as the new session, the new 2-year session starts in January. With that in mind, of course, there's elections in November, which may or may not help make those decisions in the future sessions. I did reach out to Jill Swing of the Compassionate Care Alliance. I believe their name is now South Carolina Compassionate Care Alliance. I saw her log in late as we were doing our meeting on Sunday with the cannabis conversation. I have invited her to come in as a featured speaker and talk with us a little bit about where her organization is, what they're doing. The Compassionate Care Act here in South Carolina that was basically drafted by Senator Tom Davis in Beaufort County, and then co-sponsored here in Charleston County by Pete McCoy, had movement. There was, there were some hearings scheduled. The McCoy bill, I believe, was tabled, didn't move anywhere at that point. And with the pandemic, the Senate Bill 366, Tom Davis's bill, that hearing was canceled. And so, again, we're probably going to tail out the rest of the legislation here in South Carolina. I'm not hearing anything about either of those two. There was a Nancy Mace bill, I believe, that touched on medical. I'd have to go back and look at it again. It wasn't one that I was sort of, to me, it didn't seem as in depth or as in detail. Either way, what I believe we need to do is find a couple of states that are that have a good, successful program. Copy that. Don't try and make the most strict, most stringent, isolate the most patients away from their medicine program. Find one that's working in other states. There's probably a few of them that are similar that we can replicate here in South Carolina. And on the another note, the decriminalization bills, I believe there was 3 of them here in South Carolina this year. One of them ended up gaining 2 or 3 additional co-sponsors. They may have been the sponsors of the other bills. But that, to me, is really another thing we should be pushing as hard, if not harder, for here in South Carolina as we are for the medical, is to me, ending criminalization of possession, decriminalizing possession of small amounts of cannabis is key to this criminal justice reform. Most people get arrested for less than 4 grams of cannabis. They do jail time. They take a criminal record follows them around. They have to check that box on all those applications, whether it's for education, whether it's for housing, whether it's for student loans, whatever it may be. Yes, I've been convicted of a drug crime. It's just craziness. It's insane. And so to me, that's a key element is decriminalizing. Move that legislation forward. That should be simple legislation. I know I ranted a little bit about it on Sunday where, it could be done at a local level if we could get the population to sign our petitions, or if you can get local city councils to propose and support the legislation. Excuse me again tonight. I'm not really one to be the one to convince legislators. I'd rather ask for your signature. And so that's the direction that I go. It is interesting to watch Johnny McCoy, an attorney up in Myrtle Beach. He's proposed an ordinance there to decriminalize with a ticket amount. I forget the ticket amount. I don't have it in front of me. And so it's, as some have said, is partial decriminalization. Well, only, I guess, comparing it to our no fine, no time, no court cost petitions that we've been trying to circulate. Pretty good segue, I guess, for that into local chapter business, which is the circulation of those petitions, or at least that's a big part of it right now. We do only have three three areas covered: Folly Beach, town of James Island, and the city of Charleston. For those of you that are with us and may not have heard me talk about these petitions before, the reason we had picked those three is a lot of the work so far is I've had, I guess, trouble organizing signature collection folks in other areas. And so I did three to start. One I thought would be Folly Beach because it's very close to where I live physically. It was a place I could get, maybe have some people join me there. I've gotten to know a couple of people in the community there and get them to help us with signatures. We've actually been even permitted to set up our booth at the farmers market and the craft markets down there. Excuse me. And the challenge, and again, the other reason I picked Folly Beach is it's a very small target of signatures that we need. We need approximately 400 signatures. And somebody even on Sunday commented, boy, that should be real easy. You know, we've done much bigger numbers here in Ohio, which we had some visitors watching in from Ohio. Excuse me. And you would think it should be easy, but when you get a population that in approximately April or so explodes from roughly 3,000 people, 2,800 registered voters, to 23,000 people or something, added up to 20,000 tourists that kind of change every week or so, every week or two. A lot of the actual residents are hard to find in that mess, in that activity. I have reached out and actually visited almost every one of the bar dining establishments down there and dropped off a letter, spoke with either an owner or a manager and requested maybe the opportunity to do a signature collection event, explaining to them this was specifically targeted at residents, at registered voters that were residents and locals and not at the tourist trade. And something that we wanted to do kind of in off season, January, February, even as late as March, when we didn't have as many tourists down on the island. I don't remember if it was 2017, a fair number of letters I dropped off asking them to get back to me, gave them a couple of different options on how we may be able to, you know, have a presence and move our petition forward with them, and not a single one actually responded. And so for that year, that was 2019, that did kind of drop off. I must admit, after November, we hit our deadline. We didn't have the signature collection in time. It's my understanding that the signatures that we did collect to that point are still valid as long as those voters are still registered and in the same location. Otherwise, we would need a new location with their new registration address. And I recently made a connection down there with another resident who's pretty active, I'm going to say, politically and socially, with their community, that said, hey, let me look into this and see if we can get some events set up down there. So I haven't lost all hope for Folly Beach and it being a small target. The reason I did the town of James Island is it happens to be where I live. I'm surrounded by the town of James Island. If you understand the city of Charleston, it spreads out kind of like in some places like here in where I am on James Island, it's sort of like a patchwork quilt. And you might have neighbors on one side of the street or next to you that one lives city of Charleston, one lives the town of James Island, one is the unincorporated county property. And they can be all mixed and mashed together. And so in this particular area, it's just seemed to be practical since, again, it was an area I live in. And we were setting up our booth at the town of James Island Town Hall monthly markets that they were having. That was directly targeted toward the locals. I don't know how many registered voters actually came out and visited with us. We did get some raised eyebrows, and we did get some signers. We actually had the mayor of the town sign our petition. I'd really rather the mayor sponsor a referendum here in that town. I say that town only because I'm that other property. I'm in the city of Charleston. And yet I live basically on the same block as the town hall of James Island. I may be rambling about this a little bit, but this is kind of my explanation on how we ended up where we ended up. I have been getting more folks reaching out to me from other areas here in Charleston County. And we have some students over at the College of Charleston that are interested in trying to attack this at a county level. I still haven't made the final decision to contact our friends up in Ohio at Sensible Decrim and see if they'll draft us a new petition for the entire county. But I do see their point. We're getting people from other areas of Charleston County reaching out to us. When I've done other events, and whether it's downtown city of Charleston to try and collect for the city of Charleston, or I've done some shows up in North Charleston when Slightly Stupid was in town. When 98 Rock had some rock festival up in somewhere in North Charleston. And me as being somewhat new to the area, I never really realized that there was a difference, Charleston and North Charleston, but they are two completely different municipalities. And a lot of these municipalities kind of blend together. As I mentioned, Charles is sort of stretched out, and there's other spaces in between, and Mount Pleasant, Sutherland Island, and sorry, I forget some of the small towns nearby. That maybe it would be to our benefit to actually attack this at a county level. I haven't seen that done necessarily in Pennsylvania or Ohio, and I kind of watch those two states and what they've been doing. And they have decrimmed a number of municipalities up there. Pennsylvania actually has gone full medical, and I think it's pretty close to moving into a direction of recreational if they haven't already. The epidemic may have caused some delays in that, I forget. But anyway, if I get more people to kind of reach out and say, yes, I'm interested in helping to collect signatures and start teams and organizing and such like that, in those other areas, it may be beneficial for us than to reach out as the whole county. Unfortunately, it's all semi on hold right now because we're still, some of us are still kind of quarantining or at least not being as active as we have been in the past. I'm not really excited about running out and setting up a booth and talking to everybody and rubbing elbows, and so quite honest with you, haven't seen me at any of the protests downtown. Finally, I was released yesterday from my doctor after my surgery for a double hernia, so that's kind of past me. And I'm hoping to kind of get moving forward. We do still have on our schedule in less than a month or about a month from now on July 11th, our day at the beach, advocacy at the beach on Folly Beach. We're going to be setting up on a Saturday morning. Roughly, I expect to have our little tent set up about 11 a.m. And it's at 3rd Street West area. Will probably be between 3rd Street West and 2nd Street West, but pretty much closer to 3rd Street West. There is a public restroom area there and so I think it's convenient for folks. We're not doing a festival or a gathering per se. We're setting up our booth. We're going to have some info there. We're going to ask any of y'all if you feel like coming out, showing your support. Come down and spend some time at the beach. Get your towels and your chairs and hang nearby. And if you have any kind of cannabis related wear, flag, t-shirts, whatever, wear them. Let's turn the beach green. Actually, I kind of like that idea. Let's see if we can turn the beach green. As most of you know, with me, I've got a swing trunks that have cannabis leaves on, and I've got shirts with cannabis leaf on, and socks, which I won't necessarily be wearing on the beach, but hats and beach blanket, and so we'll be representing. We hope you all can come down and represent as well. That's July 11th. That's a Saturday on Folly Beach. We're hoping Mother Nature cooperates with us and gives us a nice day. Kind of sunny, maybe a little bit of floaty clouds here and there, and no sandblasting on the beach. But we're hoping for good weather. You never know. It's usually nice. It's hard to be not nice on Folly Beach. So about 11 a.m. we'll be there and hanging out for a few hours at least. I haven't decided yet if we're going to do anything special around 1 o'clock or not. I was at some point down the line was thinking if we get folks to register for the event, maybe we'll bring in some food or something like that. But as usual, we will have some probably bottled water on hand for y'all, if nothing else. And like I said, just come out, show your green, say hello, spend some time on the beach and advocate for cannabis. Otherwise, locally here with the chapter, I can't really say much is going on. I will be following up in the next few days with the students over at the college. We'll see where we're going to go with those new petition concepts. I also want to reach out to our folks at Sensible Decrim up in Ohio and see what their thoughts are on targeting it as at a county level, especially when we've been struggling at a municipal level. 15,000, I believe, was the number we needed for Charleston, and I don't think we have 1,000. I have been, actually since about 2017, trying to get us a booth down at the farmers market in Marion Square. I've been getting pushback, but I think finally they're going to let us. But of course, then the pandemic hit and the whole farm market just kind of evaporated. I don't know if they've even started it back up or what's going on with it. So doesn't mean we can't stand on the sidewalk down there and collect signatures. And, I'd love to have folks do that with us. That is kind of what our college students at CFC are doing. And as school starts up again in August, I heard it may be even a little early this year, if they start up with physical classes. That might be another option to get downtown and collecting signatures down there. At that point, though, we're running real close to deadline, at least for this election cycle. Some decisions to be made. If you have some input, I'd love to hear it. If you have any thoughts on the matter. But as far as normal locally, that's kind of our efforts, is to try and circulate the petitions. I did mention to that lawyer up in Myrtle Beach that if they were, I forgot, I never opened chat. I see somebody commenting over there. Like it, throw a frisbee on the beach with a logo or something like that. Be a hippie stereotype. I was a little late to be an official hippie. I was graduated mid-70s instead of in the 60s. So my college years were not in the 60s. Probably better for my mother's heart overall. But thank you for that. I appreciate that comment. When is the deadline, as far as signing up to come out to the beach? No real deadline to sign. Oh, the deadline for the petitions. I'm not certain. I don't know if it's 45 or 60 days prior to the election. Because we have to have time to be able to turn that into the voting registration board, have them verify all the signatures and make sure all the signatures we got are registered voters and the addresses are correct. That's why, again, when collecting, you need to make sure people are clear in their writing when they're filling out their information, or they will just chuck them. And if we don't hit the number, it doesn't mean all the rest are bad. We can, we can go out and try and collect the rest, but yeah, let me make a note of that. I've just been asked on chat here, if y'all aren't watching chat, can I find out by our next Sunday cannabis chat? I will do that. I'm actually working the runoff election on the 23rd too, which is after our next cannabis chat. But I'm going to call to their office, see if I can get somebody to find that answer for me. Because, yeah, I'm not sure if it's 45 or 60 days prior, but it would be good to know. Is a copy of the petition on the Lowcountry NORML site? It is. If you go to not on NORML site. I think it's under resources and it's kind of buried right now, or take action. We need to have our website kind of cleaned up. As probably a lot of websites out there, but I have not been putting the effort in. There's the one I'm looking for. Wait for it to load a second. Yes, we have a drop down that says get involved, and you'll scroll down to where it says the Decriminalize Charleston project. About midway down, you'll see 3 highlighted links for the petitions. The city of Charleston, the city of Folly Beach, and the town of James Island. I'm going to drop that link in here real quick to that page. Excuse me. You can go take a look at those. Those are no fine, no time, no court cost petitions. People can download them. They can sign them. They can ask their friends to sign them. If you're asking your friends to sign them, you need to go to the very back page and complete the affidavit as a signature collector. When you're done having your friends sign, you can mail it on back to us. Again, our address is right below the links on that page. Our PO box down on Folly Beach. If your friends are big supporters, you can ask them to download a copy of it and have them sign the back as a signature collector. And that's sort of what I'm hoping to get going a little bit better in our current program. We didn't push that as well, and I must admit these things are buried on our website right now. They're not necessarily easy to find. But that's sort of our goal, is to get these moving forward again. And yeah, I thank you for the question. I believe that was Teresa. Can I find out by Sunday? I have a note here to find that out by next Sunday, how long or when the deadlines are for getting these petitions in. Again, I may sort of follow up what my thought of was originally. I hit Charleston petition because I thought, I live in Charleston. It's a big number. I didn't really know if I could get 15,000 signatures, and it's been an uphill battle. My hope was to really get Folly and just make a little bit of noise with it. Oh, look, the first town, first city, the first municipality in South Carolina to decriminalize. And then doing a search of Charleston County, there are a couple of other small municipalities that don't have much larger or much different numbers than that I was hoping to maybe find some resident of those communities to head up, or someone that lived at least nearby those communities, or could give us some insight where we could get out and do some like petition circulation and get those small towns passed. Because collecting a few hundred signatures shouldn't be too hard. Again, I'll still use the lame excuse of except on Folly or these tourist towns where you just get an influx of folks during the summer months, and it's hard to find the residents. I think we can. I think we can do the 400. We're going to be starting up. I'll find our deadline. I'm going to reach out to that new connection I have down on Folly, who's a resident down there and pretty politically active. See if we can ramp it up. We'll do a tally of what we have now. I think we're roughly 100 signatures, so we're not far off. So I thank you for that, Teresa. And otherwise, not a lot going on or scheduled for tonight. We're going to be continuing, as I sort of just referred to a moment ago, our weekly Sunday night, 7 p.m. South Carolina Cannabis Conversation online. You can find the links to those right now on our Facebook page. We will be trying to share those links as well on Instagram and Twitter. I'm catching up with those a little bit. I don't even think I have them. I haven't even looked at the back end on our website in a while, so I do apologize for that. But I'll get the links out for that, because that's going to be the same link throughout the rest of the year on these weekly conversations. I'm really got some high hopes that doing a weekly conversation, sort of general about the entire state, will bring more people in and talk with us on this and get involved. And see if we can make some changes. Do I have it here in front of me? I'm going to go back to reading my book, Jackpot, High Times, High Seas. It is a book about when our current governor was an attorney general, a young attorney general, and went after the pot smugglers of South Carolina. It mentions Charleston and Beaufort and Hilton Head and McClellanville and a number of local areas. So for me, it's, as a new resident of South Carolina, I find it entertaining to see these new familiar names to me. That's just sort of a plug of a book I'm reading right now. I get a kick out of, and you might want to try and check it out at your local library. I got this at our local county library. Otherwise, I'm going to make a wrap. If anybody does want to speak, I think it'd do a hand raise or check in with us. I thank you all for your comments tonight, and come on out next Sunday. We will, I'm going to try and finalize our scheduling to get Jill Swing to come out and tell us a little bit about what her organization's up to. One more new message. What do we got? Very cool. You're very, very welcome. I'm going to call it a night then, and thank you all for joining me. See you Sunday. So long now.